dystopia update. I just thought I'd check in to let you know that I'm still alive, mostly. I've got some kind of like evil virus because I've been socialising and having fun, and it's the price that I pay. Yes, I've still got the immune system of a sickly little Victorian orphan boy. And I'm currently sweating like a Tory at an under-16s disco and or a KGB agent's party and or a brothel. Pretty interchangeable, isn't it? You know. And in my absence, well, wow. You know, just as I went to the shop to get the ingredients to buy some soup to hopefully save my own life, I was thinking about, you know, low points and how the low points are not really that recent with this government at all. The first things you think of when it comes to low points are things like Johnson, I suppose, because wow, I mean, he took piss taking to an entirely new level, right? But it was long before Johnson with this government. From the start, they showed you who they were. They showed all of us who they were. Just look at the way that, you know, Cameron and Osborne made all of us pay for the financial crisis when, you know, Iceland jailed their bankers. We made one of the bankers that profited to the tune of millions from that financial crisis Prime Minister. Yes, Rishi Sunak cashed in. Kwasi Kwarteng was working behind the scenes, I think, around that time too. And he went on to tank the economy so all of his hedge fund mates could cash in under the mad short reign of Truss. But you go back, is the point that I'm trying to make, you go back to the Cameron era. You go back to when those absolute turncoats, the Lib Dems, got in bed with the Tories and threw away all of their principles. You go back to May and her hostile environment and the Windrush scandal and the absolute betrayal of those people. You go back to Grenfell, you know, something that happened due to the poor, largely immigrant-based residents being ignored for years about fire safety concerns, and then loads of them burnt to death. I think Johnson had some part in cutting the fire services too, didn't he? If I remember correctly. This is all just off the top of my head. And then obviously there was the most insane con of them all, Brexit, which was, as I've talked about repeatedly, a rich man's con, right? It was the Tories colluding with non-dom media barons, hedge funders, other non-doms, basically, to completely ruin our country under the guise of patriotism and try and make people feel like they were railing against the elite when they are the fucking elite. Rees-Mogg is claiming to be what? Some kind of like fucking Citizen Smith, like power to the people, rail against the elites. You are the elite. You went to Oxford. You travel by penny farthing. You live in a castle, mate. Then obviously, yeah, there's the era of Johnson and fucking crazy shit that happened there, you know. Loads of people dead due to COVID negligence. Billions of money. Our money. Just up the wall. Hundreds of thousands of people dead. Millions living in poverty, people pulling their own teeth out, people lying on the floors of hospitals. I mean, Jesus Christ. And people sit there and they go, oh, well, you know, you get the politicians you deserve. We've got the lowest, like, press freedom like stats that exist, I think. The last couple of days, for example, look at the front pages of the news. The Royals, isn't it? Sunak's made two horrific blunders. They're not even blunders, they're deeply offensive resignation matters, 2 in 1 week, right? Firstly, making the crass, crude, disgusting bet that, you know, he's going to send the asylum seekers back with some right-wing shock jock, Piers Morgan, who was, from what I saw in the byline, Times, paid an extortionate amount of money by Murdoch, probably because he knows where all the fucking bodies are buried, doesn't he? And then, of course, there was him standing in the House of Commons making a transphobic joke or crack like he does every week, but this time he did it in the presence of a grieving mother whose daughter was murdered in a transphobic attack. And he's not just refused to say sorry for it. No, he's not just retracted it. No, what he's done is he's doubled down and he's sent his dead-eyed, compliant MPs who probably want a place in the House of Lords in the future out to defend it and gaslight grieving parents and the entire country. Yeah, because this is where we are now. And this is not going to get better. before the election, right? This is gonna ramp up. They have degraded and debased everything, and it's been a drip over 14 years of them doing that, ripping up standards, breaking the rules, floating policy to the press before putting it before the House, making the most of the lack of written constitution that we have, abusing every single system. MPs that are rapists, MPs that are abusing Class A drugs, MPs getting thrown out of brothels, MPs doing gack-off baking trays and strippers' arses, robbing us blind and then spitting in our faces, posing outside hospitals with queuing ambulances, no self-awareness, no lived experience of what we're going through. They are just fucking clueless as to the lives that we're living, yeah. And still I sit with my head in my hands at people going, oh, well, they brought you better. Yes, they fucking are! Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Anything is better than this, okay? Stop repeating a Daily Mail headline. The people that are writing the headlines for the Daily Mail are briefed from Number 10, okay? They put on the front pages what Number 10 want them to put on the front pages because they all went to school together and this is how it works. It's the royals, it's the Tories, it's the non-dom billionaires all in it together, saving their own respective skins. We do not even factor into their decision making. Okay? Jesus. Right, I'm going to go and hopefully not die from this virus that I'm suffering from, but I had to get that out of my system, and I had to warn you that none of this is going to improve. They're going to ramp this up. There's going to be more disgusting, offensive crap coming out of their mouths because they're trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator that gobbles this all up under the false, misguided notion that this is some form of patriotism, that to be patriotic, you've got to hate the foreigner, you've got to hate the person that's different. No, they're there to represent every single person in this country, regardless of their skin colour, regardless of their gender identity, regardless of their sexuality, okay? They don't get to pick and choose. And using these people in culture wars has consequences. Look at what happened to Brianna. Look at what happens to asylum seekers. Jesus Christ. You know, we're better than this. It's the duty of every single British citizen in this country to prove that we are better than this and to take our country back from these swindling, criminal shithouses. Done. I'd end on, F the Tories, but I think that's very strongly implied, isn't it? I'll be back soon with all the pictures and shit. But for now...